Dear students, in the last class we discussed about the pharmacology and toxicological screening and the different parameters used for drug screening and the different classification used for drug screening. And in this lecture we are going to start a very hot topic and the significant important in pharmaceutical industry, the OECD guidelines. And in this lecture we are going to discover and we will discuss the history, importance and function of the OECD guidelines. First of all, the OECD guidelines is a stand for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Let us start with the history of the OECD, how the OECD formed, how it is evolved from a very early organization known as Organization for European Economic Cooperation. It means the name is indicating European cooperations. It means it is indicating it is a founded members and founded by European nations and other allied countries in nearby regions. In 1948, April 1948, it was formed by the Marshall Act and it was aimed to reconstruction the Europe after the Second World War. And the OECD is the successor organization to the Organization for European Economic Cooperation, established in April 1948 among the European recipients of Marshall Plan Aid for the reconstruction of Europe after the World War II. It means the primary aim is redistributions of the American aid for the development, infrastructure development and other development activities in the European nations, particularly in Western European countries. The only Western European states were members of the OECD, Organization for European Economic Cooperation, whose primary function was the allocation of the American aid. It means whatever the loss occurred during the World War II, the American took the responsibility and promote the European Union for their re-establishments and re-infrastructures development so that the European nations and the European state can withstand for the growth. And it is indicating that for the humanity, for the human health and the well-being of the human beings suffered during the Second World War. Following the end of the Marshall Act in 1952, the aid given by the American government is ended and the work of the OECD ended, but the OECD focused on the economic issues. Why? Every country is run by the finance and the economics. For that reasons, the OECD focused on the economic issues, how the European Union and the European nations can build a strong economy around the world and how they can collaborate with other nations. For these reasons, the coordinating role was challenged after the 1957 the Rome Treaties established the European Economic Community and Euratom. These two important parameters and these two organizations challenged the OECD rules. The OECD provided a framework for negotiation aimed at setting up a European free trade area to bring the EEC, Inner Six and other OECD members together on a multilateral basis. Now this point become a very important in terms of India, how it is important. Post World War, after the 1945, the European Union collaborate with each other and they promote the free trade, bilateral trade within their nations. They are helping to each other and the friendly country to nearby country. It means the British nationals, the British government, the UK government and other allies who rule other nations, now they are collaborating with each other so that their economic freedom can be achieved and they can make a global leader at that moment. It means the 70 years ago they plan organization, they plan policies and adopt that policies for the human health and well-being, and they frame certain guidelines so that the 38 nations within this OEEC can easily move one place to another and they have some bilateral collaborations for the trade. In January 1960, a resolution was reached to create a body that would not only solve the European and Atlantic economic issues. Now, my point is that why the European nations and the OECD considered the other nations and the less developed nations. The answer is very easy. How and why? The economy is based on the finance, and finance means the running a business. Whenever they are running a business, they are getting the money, and European nations, the total population is very less. But when considering the other nations like China, India and other South Asian countries, they have a huge populations, and when they are starting the business with the European nations, they can yield a more money and they can rule their life in better way, and they can live a life with a better outcomes. For these reasons, they considered other less developed nations and devise the policies that can also include other less and under developing economies. The Convention on the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development was signed on 14 December 1960, and thus the OECD officially superseded the OECC in September 1961. At that moment, 1961, only the 20 founding countries were, and mostly are the European nations and United States of America were the members. Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, these are the countries that are founding countries of the OECD guidelines. Japan became a member in 1964. Now look why the Japan became a member of 1964. At Japan has shows its potential in developing nations to developed nations. That's why Japan became a member of the OECD, and that's become achievement for the Japan at the early 1970s. Importance of the OECD. OECD member countries account for 63% of the world GDP. Look at the percentage. 63% of world GDP is occupied by the OECD member. It means they can do business with ease, they can make policies with the ease, they can travel one country to another, they can sell their products within these countries, and they have a large margin within these countries. It means the ease of business, the policies are created so that the ease of business can be done. The policies for the tax evasion is formed. The policies for sustainable growth is developed so that these countries can form a sustainable growth and well-being. Look at this graph, the pharmaceutical spending. In this graph, we can estimate and we can calculate and we can observe the data for pharmaceutical trending in 2021. And this is work of the OECD. OECD collecting the data, conducting the research and performing the analysis in different sectors. This is one of the prime focus area of the OECD guidelines. And with this point of view, we can see our Indian stakeholders, Indian companies can potentiate and can frame the policies so that our economy can be groomed and we can get more business from these companies, those who have a more scope in pharmaceutical spending. These companies are spending a lot of GDP into the pharmaceutical sciences and pharmaceutical products. It means if India is investing in the pharmaceutical sciences, pharmaceutical product, and we can abide our policies, we can regulate our policies as per the OECD, we can easily export our medicines to these countries, and we can explore and explorate our economy to certain trillion to numerous trillions within a few years after analysis of the OECD guidelines and which country we can calculate. In this we can see the Italy, Spain, Germany and other countries, and apart from Greece, the huge scope for our Indian pharmaceutical companies. Provides a platform. How? The OECD provides a platform for government to discuss or develop economic and social policies aimed at improving the well-being of people around the world. Economic means the tax evasions and conducting a good tax reform around these countries. And social policies, what are the social policies? First is poverty, employment. These are the two important factors responsible for social policies, and these important factors are responsible for the growth of any country. So the OECD making these policies for economic and social policies. Innovative employment policies to create the more and better jobs. How the innovative employment policies to create the more and better jobs? How it is responsible? How OECD responsible? OECD making the guidelines and the policies and advising the governments, not dictating, but the advising. It is a choice of the government so that they can choose or not. Let's take an example of the recruitment process at the various governments. It's a very common process: filling of the form, written examinations, then interview, and then job boards. The OECD recommended that these processes can be done using the online process. When using the online process, we are not using any paper. It means paperless economy, and we are going towards a one step ahead, that is a sustainable growth. And after approaching the filing the application online, we can conduct the interview using the AI, the artificial intelligence, into the recruitment process. And after selecting and qualifying the exams, we can use the job locations for and job board using the AI and others effects and other software, so that the recruitment process can be done in in a very good way and with ease. Second is the foster economic development and cooperation to fight the poverty and promote the economic stability. OECD conducting the research, analysis, and coming with some solutions. Now we want to fight with the poverty, and how we can fight with the poverty. For the poverty, we need some data. The OECD conducting the data analysis across the nation, like West Africans, how much poverty is here, how much unemployability is available in European nations, in US, in Canada, in other nations, in India, and that data can be used by any government. The data is accessible at any time, at anywhere, using their websites oecd.org, and these data can be used to make the policies to fight the poverty. Now we have the data. For example, in any country, the 1 million people are facing the poverty. So they can identify the underlying reasons. What are the reasons for the poverty and how the poverty is affecting our economy? So devise the policies and devise the reasons why the poverty is prevalent in 1 million people. So using that taxation method, using other methods, we can fight with the poverty and promote the economic stability in any country. For example, poverty means 1 million people is suffering with the hungry. If 1 million people is living with the poverty, they can destabilize any economy and any economic models in any country. For that reasons, the poverty is a very crucial parameter in combating with the developing and developed economy. Poverty can lead to civil wars in certain nations, as we watch in our history. West African is the best examples when the poverty become a disaster for the economic stability. Now unemployment rate forecast. Look at the data. It is not in India, but all over the world, the employment rate is increasing. Now OECD face the challenges collecting the data and focus how the unemployment is a global issue, not an Indian issue. And the data is representing the post-COVID. It means the unemployment is increasing all over the world, and more in Canada, United States. They are considered the paramount of employment and the well-being, the best standards of living considered in US and Canada. Now look at the chart. The most employment rate is in these two nations, Canada and United States. Apart from it, Turkey is also facing the unemployment, very high unemployment rate. Now the data has come, they reached to their government, they reached to their directors generals for the analysis for this unemployment rate. So they discuss what are the major reasons for unemployment reasons. They discuss the various factors responsible for the unemployment. Now after analysis the data, what they search, the populations, increasing the populations is one of the prime reasons for the unemployment. Second, the lack of conventional work. People are not interested in the conventional work like painting, plumbing and etc. The people are losing job because they are not more interested in doing the conventional job. These two parameters become a concern for the OECD for breaking the solutions for unemployment rate in various countries, and these countries can use the data for eradicating the unemployment. Now for example, somebody wants to go in any country, how they can choose their country, ki I want to go that country for the migrations, for employment, for a good job, for well-being, for good education. So using this data, we can analyze certain country like Japan has a good very less unemployment. So anybody can go to the Japan for a good opportunity in pharmaceutical sector and in other sectors. It means this data is also helping to the common people for reaching their personal goals. The environmental issues. Address the environmental challenges like climate change. How the climate change is considering important for us. In 2025, we are all facing the climate change, a sudden heat stroke, suddenly raining rain, sometimes is rain, sometimes is winters, and the duration of winter to summer is continuously changing. Why it is happening? We have never seen earlier before 2002, but in these days we have never seen a good rainfall. In early 90s we have seen that 10 days 15 days continuously raining, but now we are not getting enough rain. It means there is something change. So for that reasons the OECD makes certain guidelines, that is OECD guidelines for the climate change, use the greenhouse gases and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. How the greenhouse gases is affecting our climate change and how they are responsible. So the word greenhouse gases and how it is related to the climate change, it is specified and discussed by the OECD guidelines. Now the problem is told by the OECD guidelines, it is the responsibility, it became the responsibility of the OECD guidelines to come with a solution. Then the OECD guidelines come with the solutions that we need to plant more and more plants so that the greenhouse gases can be consumed by these plants. Next, we whenever we are planning for certain construction, we should use sustainable plan. It means whenever we require the cutting of the plants, we should cut, and rest of the plant should not be cut. Second, use such method so that the electricity can be used at a very low, maintaining a temperature. So maintaining the temperature so that we should not use any air conditions within the rooms, and use that materials for the building constructions, for other constructions, so that can be recycled again and again. This is the one of the aim of the OECD guidelines, how the problems can be resolved. Apart from it, using the online system for various processes across the country, across the nations. Second is biodiversity, how the biodiversity is maintained. Biodiversity means the different plant across the nations. For example, neem is indigenous to India, tulsi is indigenous to India, but we can plant these to other cities, and after planting to different countries, many countries can offer this plant is indigenous to their countries. For this, they maintain a good data so that nobody can claim their patent rights and their patents right for the particular plant. They for the endangered species, they are maintaining data and coming with the solutions how we can increase the biodiversity across the state, across the nations, and across the society. The pollution is a very crucial problem for not for India, even not for Delhi, but all over the world. The world is facing a pollutions at various levels: air pollution, water pollution, land pollution. Everybody, you can feel the pollution around yourself. The air pollution become a challenge. How? Whenever we are inhaling poisonous gases, the lung capacity, the total lung capacity, the vital capacity is reducing. When the lung capacity is reducing, it means the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is reducing. When the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is reducing, it means our body getting a very less oxygen. When the less oxygen is reaching to different parts of the organs, we are feeling certain health issues and ischemia. That is, ischemia means lacking of the blood, and leading to the cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, and other disease responsible for early death in human beings. Promoting the sustainable practices and policies, education, and the skills. All over now we are reaching to 7 billion people, and how to educate and skills. Education is a can be a social reform, can be private, can be capitalism. So how we can educate and how much we should educate to a person so that the skills can be given and they can be independent in terms of employment. For these reasons, we have the OECD guidelines. Now, let's take an example of OECD that become a pioneer and that become a paramount in eradicating the corruptions. OECD has helped the crackdown on the tax evasions and avoidance, leading to increase the tax revenues and a fairer global tax system. Example: automatic exchange of information. OECD crack down the tax. For example, in India, we have a 10% tax. In America, they have a 20% tax. In other country, are more tax, 40%. So what people will do? This is unharmonization of the tax. 10%, 20%, 40%. The country which is offering a 40% tax to their businessmen, what they will do? They will migrate to India for less tax system. For this reasons, OECD has evolved with certain guidelines for the tax, how to put a tax and uniformity tax across the nations. Thank you.